Welcome to the PropTech Podcast. It's Kylie Davis here, and I'm delighted to be your host as we explore the brave new world where technology and real estate collide. I passionately believe we need to create and grow a sense of community between the innovators and real estate agents, and sharing our stories is a great way to do that, especially in these crazy times. Now, the aim of each episode is to introduce listeners to a PropTech innovator who is pushing the boundaries of what's possible, and to explore the issues and challenges raised by the tech and how we can create amazing property experiences together. Now, my guest this week is Quinin Schwaighofer, co-founder of Madecomfy, a PropTech that makes it easy for homeowners, investors and agents to embrace the short-term rental market. And when I first met Quinin, Madecomfy delivered maintenance and check-in services to make it easy for property owners to use Airbnb and short-term stay platforms. But since COVID, they've pivoted slightly and they're now building out the brand of a Madecomfy property, which is opening them up to corporate stays and even midterm rentals. And in this episode, Quinin tells us the very funny story of how some cardboard boxed bedside tables and awful sheets that his mum bought for him led to the business beginning. So here to tell us all about it, Quinin Schwaighofer, welcome to the PropTech Podcast.
Thank you, Kylie. Thank you so much for having me with you.
It's great to have you, and I've been following the Madecomfy story for over a year now. So tell us, what is the Madecomfy elevator pitch?
Yeah, thank you. I think elevator pitch, it always depends on which elevator you're in.
Yeah. How many floors?
How many floors and who's in it with you.
Yeah.
But in short, so Madecomfy is our short-term rental brand. And what that means is that we enable anyone to enjoy the privacy, quirkiness, and flexibility of a short-term rental, but with the consistency and quality and service of a brand. And at the same time, we enable property owners to have a higher return on their investment in a property with more flexibility of use. So rather than just having it rented out and having people staying in there forever, we can actually utilize your properties, and that's a really, really nice thing to have for many of our property owners.
So how is Madecomfy different to an Airbnb? Different or similar?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, like in general, Airbnb is a platform, and we are an official partner of Airbnb, and we're working very closely with them. And Airbnb is there to have a transaction and to book. But what Airbnb doesn't do is they're not getting involved in the operational parts of a short-term rental. So they leave that up to the hosts, and of course they have all the things they do with reviews and with the community. It's really, really great. But what we learned very early is there is a different expectation in sort of short-term rentals or in certain services. And just because someone has 5 stars, it doesn't mean it is like what you know from hotels or from other professional accommodation, that it comes with certain things. And it can be up and down in the experience. And that's sort of where we provide our value, where we say, okay, when you book on Madecomfy, you can book us through Airbnb, through Booking.com or directly, but you know what you get, and you know what the experience is going to be and what it's not going to be. And similar than if you book a Novotel or something like that, you know it's not going to be like your intercontinental suite experience, but it's also not a backpackers. And that's pretty much what we focused on since the beginning, and where there's the key difference between any Airbnb and in the Madecomfy. Okay,
so what's the problem that you're solving at Madecomfy?
There are 2 problems. So I start with giving its prop tech. Start with the property side.
Yep.
Is simply to enable property owners to have a different form of income. Now you've got your normal commercial leases, you've got your residential leases, but what we see is that there are a lot of properties in Australia, at least, that are not rented out, and there are many reasons for that. Either you don't find a tenant, or you use your property once or twice a year, and then it's empty. or you're simply interested to say, okay, I would like to have a higher yield, I need a higher yield, and things like that. So, and that's the problem that we solve. So if you are one of those that simply can't find a tenant, especially at the moment, a lot of properties are empty, and especially in certain locations. And like whilst it is very difficult to find a long-term tenant, people are still moving around and traveling, maybe not necessarily for leisure reasons, but for many other reasons. And we can fill those properties to extent that you have your income again. If you use it yourself every now and then, well, whenever you're not using it, like you are generating an income and you don't lose the flexibility of using it. And then lastly, if you simply think that you should have a higher yield, then depending on the condition of your property, the location, short-term rentals can be an option for that to simply get you higher returns on your property.
Okay, so if I'm a property owner, step me through what the value proposition is. So I'm a property owner and I've got a property and I know that I'm not going to be in that property for a period of time over the next, say, 12 months. If I go with Madecomfy rather than just listing it on Airbnb or Stays or one of the other platforms, what do I get as part of that by being a Madecomfy property?
So number one, like think about if you really want to manage your property yourself on Airbnb, and there are a few out there that really like doing that. You should do that, right? It's like we're not there to take something you're passionate about away from you. So that's a bit, but it's of course intensive with 24/7 guest communication, the check-in, check-outs, maintenance. All of these things you need to be able to do. So that's one thing. If you say, I don't want to manage it myself, then yeah, the easiest one is to jump on our website and enter your address into our calculator. That gives you a first understanding, is your property in a location that is good for short-term rentals without really having to contact us or anything. That will give you a first understanding. We usually also then give you back a first rough estimate. And yeah, from there, we will then take you through the qualification process. Like we will try to understand how new is your property? Is it furnished? Is it unfurnished? In what condition is it in generally? Where is it located? And what are your expectations? And once we say, okay, that is all aligned, it makes sense, we will then work with you on a forecast where we say, okay, under the current market conditions, which is a very important part at the moment, we expect to generate X, and we're using our actual data points that we have in our tens of thousands of bookings that we have processed. We get a lot of data from our channel partners, and it's really a data-driven approach on that side. And then you simply have a look at that. We compare it with your expected long-term return. And yeah, and then it really depends on, are you doing it to maximize your returns? Are you doing this to have some income, or are you doing that to have flexibility? So, and then you simply look at the data and like ask us anything. We work highly on making sure you fully understand the difference between a long-term rental and a short-term rental, where you have simply the difference is like a short-term guest like has different rights and less and more rights in certain areas. So it's just a different process. And yeah, you need to be just comfortable with that and understand how we manage that. And yeah, and from there, it is as easy as signing up. It takes about a week to get your property up and to start getting bookings.
Awesome. So how big is the market for this in Australia?
So when you look at the market that we at Madecomfy target, which is not just the vacation rental or short-term rental market, it's the whole accommodation sector in Australia, which when we look at the tourist part of it, the hospitality part of it, that's a $19 billion market. And then, of course, you've got the whole long-term rental market where you see at the moment, for example, trends like people, especially sort of millennial type don't really understand why to sign a 12-month lease of an empty property when you don't know where you're going to work in 3 months' time. So the whole flexible renting model is going to be fast-tracked over the next 1 or 2 years. That is one trend that is seen across the globe. And that's another segment that is the whole leasing market, but of course, you look at that who requires flexibility, who is mobile workforce, and and that's a very interesting segment as well. That of course requires properties to be furnished, managed in a different way. It's all about the simplicity of booking it. It's about having it equipped with everything you need, so you simply move home within the click of a button, and it's not the long process of booking a long-term rental.
It's really this concierging of rentals, isn't it? Like sort of almost hotel-style service of being able to move in, move out straight away.
Yeah, the simplicity. So maybe not the room service part of a hotel.
Well, there's Uber Eats. You can sort that out yourself now.
That would be nice, isn't it? Like you just click a button and the drone comes. But I think that's then a bit further down the track. But it's simply the simplicity. I think one thing is really difficult, and it's just painful to sign a long-term lease, and that combined with the more flexibility required by not having a fixed place of work or this uncertainty is simply driving a need that people are looking around. And we have a lot of bookings that are like project workers, that are people in tech that book our places for a month, 2 months, 3 months rolling, and they simply enjoy that it is so easy to just book it, stay in it, and when you have to move, you don't have to find someone to take over your lease, and you pay penalty and break fees and move all your furniture in and out. So it's just so much easier and hassle-free in that moment, and that's the bit that convenience part where we see a huge opportunity going forward.
Awesome. So if I'm a renter, if I'm someone interested in renting, do I see the properties for Madecomfy on the Madecomfy website, or do I see them on Airbnb, or how visible are you guys?
So we really try to be wherever you, as a renter or guest or tenant, are comfortable to book, and that means like a large number of people are very comfortable to book on Airbnb. So we are on Airbnb, and we understand the way we present information, communicate, and ensure that we are in that first page when people search. The same counts for Booking.com or our own website. So we have a certain segment. For example, if you look at the corporate market, there is a corporate part at the moment that is still traveling because they have to travel. So your service workers, hospitals, engineering, construction, and a lot of them, either company policy is like you can't book an Airbnb for certain reasons, and the sort of employees are not feeling comfortable to stay in a hotel. That's a segment, for example, that books directly very strongly, and because there is not much of an option, and we are targeting that. The same like when you buy sell and you have a 1 or 2 months period, and we often simply refer to by our real estate partners. They send them to our website, and it's just very easy to book that way because you don't have to have an account, sign up, and things like that when you get a referred to from someone. So it's again goes down to the simplicity path. And yeah, that's to answer your question. So it's not only one place. It's being on many places and understanding how your tenant guest prefers to engage with you.
And now let's hear a word from our sponsors. For almost 16 years, Direct Connect has made moving easy for over 1.2 million renters and homeowners by arranging connections to a wide range of services, from electricity and gas to internet and pay TV. With a national team of local account managers who are experts in the industry, Direct Connect are there to support your real estate business with competitive rewards for every successful connection, plus an industry-leading rewards program. The connection process is simple, and Direct Connect's always-on guarantee ensures your customers will be connected on the day they move in. Direct Connect offers a range of market-leading suppliers, and Direct Connect has now made it even easier than ever to send connections directly integrating with MRI Software's Property Tree. So in just a few clicks while processing a tenancy, you can send the connection details through and get your customers connected. To make the right connection and find out how Direct Connect can make moving easy for you and easy for your customers, visit agents.directconnect.com.au or call 1300 558 169.
So tell me a little bit more about how you're working with real estate agents, with existing agents or property managers.
Of course. So there are many ways. We're doing this now for over 3 years that we're working actively together with agents. I can tell you a couple of examples. Like we work with a few companies like The Agency, where we have referral agreements. So we enable agencies to keep the rent roll, and we manage it on the short-term market. And the agency in that case keeps the contract, keeps the rent roll, and keeps the relationship with the landlord. That means we are paying them rent, let's call it. Yep. That we generate, take away our commission part. It goes on there from our trust account to their trust account, and then they pay the owner. So there is not much of a change, and we simply split the commission depending on the work that is split. Another one is that we work with referral fees. That is simple. If an agency has someone that bought a house, they're not going to manage it and simply say, hey, the owner wants to do short term, and we then pay a commission that is market rate on that. At the same time, we have sometimes owners that want to go back to long term, and in that case, we also referring them to our real estate partners. So that's on the whole property management side, where we simply work together and sharing commissions. The other one is then the whole market with property developers, where we are working with them, providing them data to understand how they can either hold on certain properties to utilize them and generate returns whilst not selling them, and that's often a bit easier to keep them, put them on a short-term flexible rent model with us, and simply see like when the market sort of recovers and you want to sell. And that's one thing. And then we have some other developers with blocks of 8 to 12 units, where the whole block is really tailored to be a short-term rental. We have blocks in the Barangaroo, in Cremorne, in Katoomba, and that's simply every apartment is really designed to accommodate short-term rental guests, and that's simply made because they understand from our data that they are able to generate a higher return on their investment, and they're able to hold onto it and keep it.
Awesome. So if I'm a renter looking for property, do I go to the Madecomfy website, or do I just go to Airbnb and then I will see something that tells me that it's a Madecomfy property?
Yeah. So if you just type book a Madecomfy in Google, or you go to Madecomfy, you see all our properties. You can then enter the area where you want to stay. You have a map as well. On our side, you see classifications. So we have essential properties that are simply basic properties that often come with a character of a Surrey Hills or a Darlinghurst. They're not newly renovated and are on the more affordable side.
Authentic, I think, is the word for that.
Authentic, yeah.
Authentic village experience.
Yeah. But we try to be open there that it is not perfect and everything is fine and schmick. Then you've got the comfort range, which it's sort of the Volkswagen experience of a property. So it's solid. It is not lax, but it is newly renovated. It has all the features that you would expect from a property. And then we've got premium, which is sort of your upper class, and then lux, which is really the top of the class, usually penthouses, large properties with pools and things like that. So you can see that on our website very easily. If you book as an Airbnb, you see us as well. Properties that are managed by Madecomfy. Our profile is Madecomfy, and you can search not directly for Madecomfy properties on the Airbnb, but you can identify a Madecomfy property. That's the few things. Or you just Google us, and then either Airbnb or booking.com will pop up.
Awesome. Okay, so tell me a little bit about Madecomfy. How old are you guys? How long have you been around? Not you. I don't need the personal details. But how big are you now in terms of size and that?
No, thank you. So we are 5 years old this year, since sort of we Sabrina and I started Madecomfy. We've been on a high growth path since. We are managing around between 1,000 and 2,000 bookings a month, which is, now when you look at guests, you're managing between 3,000 and 8,000 guests a month in and out.
Awesome.
And with a team, our team has changed a little bit over the last 6 months, especially. So we had an offshore team in the Philippines, which we took onshore here, mainly because we were able to. Our team over there was able to join the partner company we work with, and here we could keep jobs. Mm-hmm. And that's a key core focus for us this year, was simply, like I think for any company, to keep jobs, number one, to keep the business up and really focus on adding value to your customers. And this year was really for us the year to understand how is COVID changing, not just it impacts the travel market for sure, but it impacts the whole accommodation sector, including long-term rents. And how can we position, or do we have to position us to add the value to the property owner, but also to the person staying in that. And as such, we had changes that you can now book a Madecomfy directly. A quarter of our bookings are now direct bookings, which we haven't had before. So direct bookings are now the second largest channel for us after Airbnb, and we expect that to continue. And of course, that itself adds a significant value to property owners, because we're now able to, despite this current climate, we are able to generate stronger returns than if we were just sitting there and hoping that people would book their listing. So that was a whole really focus, and continues to be a shift. We're working hard on entering the whole regional market, of course, as well. But it's all about how you do that, is the strategy, and really how you stay consistent to your brand, and how you add value to your customers, rather than just doing it and thinking.
So what areas are you in, Quinin?
So currently we are in Sydney, we're in Melbourne, we are in Brisbane, Gold Coast, Canberra, Sunshine Coast, and the Blue Mountains. And we are this year focusing on several other cities that will open, but of course with the current restrictions on really entering certain states, that really depends on when certain states are opening up. I think WA we will see in 2025.
That's when they're opening up, or that's when you guys are going to go there?
Maybe by then you need a passport to get into WA.
That's right.
But I don't know, just kidding now.
Hello to all of our WA listeners.
I used to live in WA, and I totally understand why. It is amazing when you are. They are an island on an island. I think, as the Premier said it today or yesterday. So I totally understand it, but I think it's just difficult to do business in WA if it's closed off unless
Yeah.
you work in mining,
Yeah.
which is my background. So yeah, I think I can.
Well, that was well, that's a great segue because I mean we've already sort of covered off COVID, but so what is your background? How did you get into Madecomfy? Because you're a co-founder with Sabrina.
Yeah. Well, I think like many companies that are founded is because of an annoyance of a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used to, so as you can hear with my great accent, is I'm coming from Germany, and I came here. My daughter always says it's ridiculous. 12 years ago, and I still speak like I arrived here yesterday. But I don't know what to do. I listened to some Schwarzenegger stuff, how he took lessons, and I thought, like, Jesus, if he did all of that and still speaks the way he speaks, just don't do it, and focus on other things. And I think, anyway, so I came here 12 years ago, working in the mining industry on sort of large scale projects in like WA, Queensland, and yeah, it was an exciting time of my life. But there was this point where I really realized that working in a company is I wasn't fulfilled. So I had really a time where I was. It wasn't not a burnout. It was more like a what's the point of all of this? To do this for the next 30 or so years when you're really not happy and you're enjoying it. And I'm not the best interviewer, so joining the job is really not. I tried that, but it didn't work out. Because like everyone just leaving mining was really difficult because people say, "Oh, you're mining background," yeah, so that didn't really work out. And yeah, then one option was really to discover the whole startup space and doing it yourself. And yeah, that's what I then did in 2014 with my first startup.
Okay, and so your background's in engineering, isn't it? As a mining engineer.
Yeah, but I'm not a great engineer, I'd say. So I realized very soon. So I studied industrial engineering because I couldn't make up my mind between economics and engineering. And so my engineering degree is on the telecommunication IT side, not on the mechanical side, which no one asks you when you introduce yourself on the mine side and say, "Oh, you're a German engineer." Everyone assumes you're a mechanical engineer. German, amazing, all the boxes ticked. Let's talk. So that helped. But yeah, I'm not. I discovered very early that I am. I enjoy speaking with people. I enjoy the commercial side. I enjoy the strategic side of things rather than the engineering part. And I know that there are people that are much better than me in that. So that was simply understanding, okay, you're not going to be in the top 5 in the world in that space. So yeah, just follow where you have some passion, where you're good at, and yeah, and I did it organically. But like when you read a few books, I think it's a good advice to do that, to follow your passion and focus on what you're really good at.
And so the idea for Madecomfy came from what your experiences in trying to find shorter term rentals as a miner, or?
Yeah, so I had my first startup. So I
And
left
what was that one?
the mining industry. So my income went from like really high to really low.
Yeah.
And I had this place in Cremorne Point that was amazing. It like had water views, harbor views, sunrise in Point Piper, sunset behind the bridge, and then like I had to really reduce my lifestyle or change my lifestyle to finance to really finance my first startup, which was in time and attendance for construction and mining companies, to transition that industry from pen and paper to digital, which was an amazing experience. I learned so much about anything from starting a business to raising capital, developing, building a tech business itself, and I personally I made definitely a lot of wrong choices, and I made a lot of mistakes, but I learned a lot, and yeah, in that moment. I stayed in an Airbnb in Melbourne to watch the Formula One, and this lady, she was in her 60s, and I felt like wow, like she's so clever. She makes money with her place while she just left it. And I left my place where I said I have a Formula One Grand Prix every day with the harbor, and I don't do that. So that's really, really silly. And I went home, took photos, put it on Airbnb, got a booking within a day or two, and I thought like, well, that problem is solved. I now live rent free whilst I travel, and yeah, and that was a very short-minded thought because I didn't think about what can go wrong and what the needs of a guest are, and that not everyone will love my man cave, which had great views, but internally maybe it was very focused on me, and I didn't spend much time there, so it was like my bedside table was a cardboard box.
Ah.
So it's like, yeah.
So interior design, not necessarily your thing.
So then, and that's then how Sabrina came in. So we met each other, and yeah, she two things. Like I was always away, and then I asked her to help me with like the changeover and check-ins, and she said, look, this is great if I have to do this once a month, but not 2 or 3 times a week. She was working at Kellogg's back then, sort of on the path to a CFO, and she also said, look, your place is really like improvable. So the first thing she did was, okay.
She's very diplomatic.
Yeah, well, she wasn't that diplomatic.
Okay.
No. That was I changed the words. So she said, okay, like she threw out that box and a few other things, my linen that were from the 90s, the linen I never used myself for my well, I shouldn't say for my mom, because my mom really loved those. But they were like flannel with little birds on it, colorful.
Oh, no.
Just not what you would like to have when you stay in a property. You really realize this is very personal. And yeah, so she changed that, and with that sort of mini uplift, the nightly rates that I got, they went up, and we were like, wow, like if you change little things, you're able to simply generate more. So that was our first learning, and then we simply tried to find someone to help me to manage this, and we thought like, now you Google that, and we found some great companies, but they were all in either London or in the US, but no one here. And that's when it sort of made a little bit click when we looked at that and said, like, why is no one doing this here? And we also saw the ecosystems that have been sort of emerging around Airbnb in Europe and in the United States. And with the fact that Airbnb opened 4 years after they opened in the US, of course, Australia was simply behind in that whole trend. But the cities are very similar. Like if you look at Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, they're all, it's similar culture, similar way of living and traveling. So we thought this will simply come over here and will grow significantly. And yeah, now Sydney, Melbourne are in the top 10 of world cities of Airbnb. So that really was something when we saw that, and yeah, we launched. The very first idea was a key exchange platform, and we thought we need to solve the check-in, and we started that. And whilst we were building the prototype, we simply said, what do we do until then? And yeah, we sat together. Sabrina took 2 weeks off, got herself familiar with WordPress, and we did a website. And within 1 week of launching that website and spending $20 a day on Google, we got our first customer, Julieta, with a 2-bedroom terrace in Paddington, who was going on a honeymoon. And that's how it started. We made $2,000 the first month, more than we planned to do with our key exchange platform in the first year. And that was the death of the key exchange platform. And the platform the website we launched, we called it Madecomfy. And yeah, that's the start of Madecomfy.
As a real estate agent, you know you need to be doing more content marketing. But creating posts for social media, creating videos and reports is hard work, lots of hard work, and it takes time. So that's why you need HomePrezo. If you're a typical agent posting 1 or 2 social media posts a week, HomePrezo can save you between 75 to 100 hours a year. How many more properties could you sell if you had that time back? HomePrezo can help you create engaging, informative videos about how the property market in your local suburb is performing. Plus, it makes creating suburb reports, rental videos for landlords, and social media infographics an absolute piece of cake. If you can type in a suburb or type an address, you can create a Prezo using HomePrezo in just a few minutes. Listeners to the PropTech podcast receive a 14-day free trial. Now that's twice as long as the normal free trial. So go to homeprezo.com.au and click the sign up button and use the code PropTech to get your extended free trial, or click the link in our show notes.
Now, from giving you interior design advice and throwing out your flannelette sheets, you and Sabrina, you're co-founders now, but also you're married and have just had a little baby. So congratulations on that. So who are your competitors in this space now? Because it's become quite competitive, hasn't it?
I mean, like the whole space, when you look at that and you look at any property that is in a short-term rental hotspot, which is either in a sort of CBD or in a location that has businesses or landmarks that are interesting, there are over 1 million properties in that. Now, if you look at those properties, the biggest competitor we have are long-term agents, long-term tenants, when we look at that from a pure number point of view. So there is, when you look at the short-term rental space, there are a lot of, it is very easy to manage an Airbnb or short-term rental and to coordinate the check-in, check-out, and to just do it on a very simple basic, like what Sabrina did with me. There's nothing you need to do. But and we have a lot of those. If you Google Airbnb management, like you will see pages of people that run that and do that passionately. The one thing that we do differently, and there is no one else doing that, is to say, okay, we don't just manage the operational parts of a property. We combine that with a brand that comes with a promise to users to not just manage things, but to add that value. With if you just manage it, it is at the end it becomes a commodity. Who can do the cheapest check-in? Who can do that at the lowest cost? And now everyone talks about dynamic pricing. You can get this off the shelf, a dynamic pricing system that just runs. But one thing is a dynamic pricing tool. The other thing is a revenue management strategy, which is understanding how you advertise where over the life cycle of a property. And that is a very complex and more difficult bit, especially in conditions like at the moment. So when you look at that, like Madecomfy is a brand towards property owners, and you read a lot about Madecomfy in that space, but then also to the guest side. And by being selective with the properties, we are able to convey that confidence to people that book Madecomfy, and with that we are able to achieve higher nightly rates, higher occupancy rates, because people can actually rebook at Madecomfy, and not just like if someone manages you, it's Kylie's property. Like you have to really hope that it is simply appearing high up on the Airbnb side, but we can drive traffic, previous Madecomfy guests, to your property, and we're doing that very successfully. And when we look at the overall data, the average return occupancy, average nightly rate that we are generating, we are on the very, very, very top end, and it is difficult to do that on scale if you are just by yourself.
Awesome. So Quinn, what do you think the next 5 years is going to hold for the short-term rental space and for this area that you're playing in?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and I think no one knows where we will be in 5 years' time, but where we see now the key advantage and opportunity of short-term rentals are that by nature, a short-term rental is more designed towards a tenant guest in a COVID world by the design of a place. So it is more spacious, it is more private. You don't share big lobbies. You don't have a housekeeper coming in every day. You have less contact with people. All like short-term rentals that, for example, we manage are fully equipped with a full kitchen, with a working space. So you really can stay in a short-term rental without leaving it to have dinner somewhere or to be out. So by nature, that's an advantage. And what we predict is that what happened in 2007, 2008 with the launch of Airbnb and the launch of the iPhone and the GFC, all of that coming together, that drove a complete new wave in short-term rentals that made short-term rentals easier to book with higher confidence. And that really drove a big wave that has stayed until today. Now, COVID in 2020, you have COVID, and you have the fast evolution of technology, being cloud-based services to make things like scheduling complex tasks more efficient. You have smart tech that is more and more affordable. So in regards to keyless check-in and things like that. So what we see over the next few years is that the executional part, which is the complexity of managing a short-term rental, many properties, many locations, is becoming by far more consistent. And when we look at what guests are looking for now, which is about trust, having trust that a place is safe, that you have privacy, and that the execution is consistent, we see the trend for the next few years will be that short-term rentals, if they're able to convey that information and that confidence, and that is either by brands, by standards like Airbnb is driving, that there will be there is a huge opportunity to take further market share away from hotels or the classic accommodation sector. And that depends on how the industry is using this opportunity. We know what we are doing in that space, but it is super exciting, and it is the one thing that makes us, despite the current situation with COVID, be super excited. And we know that Madecomfy will be in a better position, not despite COVID-19, but because of COVID-19, and that is an exciting part. And of course, for all property owners, being able to participate in that is an exciting bit as well.
Awesome. Well, Quinin, it has been absolutely fantastic talking to you today, and I can't wait till you come to the South Coast so you can take my place on.
We will wait for Q1 2021. We will have a huge regional push, and but you're lucky to have a property down there.
We really are. We count our blessings. Quinin, thank you so much. It's been great to talk to you today. Thanks for being on the PropTech podcast.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun, and well done on doing this. It is always enlightening to listen to your podcast, and thank you really, really very much to have me here.
Say hello to Sabrina for us. So that was Quinin Schwaighofer from Madecomfy, co-founder of Madecomfy with his wife Sabrina. And I love the story of how Sabrina's advice on his bedroom led to better bookings for his apartment. I can just imagine the eye rolling.
When COVID hit, I was initially really worried about these guys. They had been hit by the double whammy of falling rentals and what seemed to be the cataclysmic end of the travel industry. But it is really great to see how they've turned it into a positive by thinking about the end customer experience and building the Madecomfy brand with different tiers of property. I guess they're kind of like the Novotel Sofitel network. And I also like the thinking around the role of their own brand so that they can be used by corporations that don't allow Airbnb rentals. I think that's really smart. So as restrictions lift, but we remain within our borders, closed, encouraging domestic travel, they look in good shape to benefit. Now, if you're an agency that doesn't do short-term rentals at the moment, it's worth reaching out to them to see how you can work together, as their solution makes it really easy for your property management team and is a great additional option for your landlords or even people who you've sold property to who may be looking at ways of living more flexibly. So now if you've enjoyed this episode of the PropTech podcast, I'd love you to tell your friends or drop me a line either via email, kylie@realcontent.guru, LinkedIn or Facebook. You can follow the podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Apple iTunes and 3 or 4 others. I'd like to thank my audio support, Charlie Hollins, the fabulous Jill Escudero, and our sponsors, Smidge, official wines of the PropTech community, Direct Connect, making moving easy, and Home Prezzo, now part of ActivePipe and making email marketing easier than ever before. Thanks everyone. Until next week, stay safe and keep on PropTeching.